Hello everyone, welcome back to Everyday Kelly. My name is Kelly. So today I wanted to do something a little bit of a fun little exercise with books. And so I thought I would rate the opening lines of 10 classic books. So I've chosen 10 books and I've got a rating system of 4 different categories. And so I'm going to place them into either iconic, classic, intriguing, or meh, okay? So an iconic line would be, a first line of a book that everyone knows, whether you are literary or not, whether you read books or not, you know the line. You may not know what book it's from, but you know it. That would be iconic. Classic would be something that is a little bit step down from iconic. A lot of people who read books know the line. It may not be known by the general population of people who perhaps don't read that often, but it's still really classic. Intriguing would be a line that maybe you don't really know, but when you read it, you kind of think, okay, let's find out more about what's going on here. And of course, meh would be a line that maybe isn't so great. Okay, so let's look at the meaning or the definition, the actual definition of the word classic, okay? So I'm just going to bring it up here. So the actual definition of the word classic is judged over a period of time to be of the highest quality and outstanding of its kind, okay? So what makes a classic book? Something that has themes and topics that really transcend time. It can be topical, but also, topics and themes that really are universal, they touch people, that no matter what time, something that really stands the test of time as well. A lot of people throw around the words modern classic or instant classic. I mean, I don't really buy it. I really think that something has to be around for at least a couple of generations and have that ability to draw people in and have people still wanting to read it to really be called a classic. So that's just how I feel about it. Of course, these ratings are going to be very subjective. Everyone's going to have their own opinion, but this is just mine and this is just for fun. So let's get into it. So I've chosen 10 books. Some of them I have read and some of them I have not. I'm going to try to be as impartial as I can, between the books that I have read and that I haven't read, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first book that I chose is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So I really love this book. This is one of my favorite books. And so I know the first line, but let's see. Okay, so the first line in Jane Eyre goes, "There was no possibility of taking a walk that day." Okay, so as much as I really would love to put this into the classic category because I do love this book, and I feel like this first line is classic because I know it, I think I would probably put this into intriguing. I really don't think it goes as far as meh, but I would put it into intriguing. You want to find out who's speaking, you want to find out, why couldn't you take a walk? At least I feel like you want to find out more about the character. So I would put this one in intriguing. So book number 2 that I chose is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So another one of my favorites. So the first line in that book is, "Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents," grumbled Joe, laying on the rug. Okay, so this one I would put into intriguing. Definitely, without a doubt, intriguing. It doesn't have the punch of like an iconic first line, or nor a classic line, but I think it's intriguing. It gives you a little bit of information. You know that it's Christmas time. You know that there's a character named Joe. You want to find out, okay, why aren't they going to get any presents? So I definitely put this into the category of intriguing. Okay, so the third book that I chose is a book that I have not read, but it is a very notable first line, but not only a first line, this one is actually a whole paragraph. So the third book that I chose is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Very famous. I kind of think I know already where we're going to put this one, but let's go ahead and read the opening line, which is actually an entire paragraph. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us and we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in their superlative degree of comparison only. So that has got to be one of the longest opening lines in literature history. And I think that even without knowing the entire paragraph, most of us know it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Even just that first part of it. This one definitely is an iconic first line. If you ask someone who doesn't ordinarily read a lot, where is this line from? They would probably be able to tell you. So definitely this one is iconic. And I think it also is iconic for some other reasons as well. And I think this is really what makes Dickens, at least one of the things that makes Dickens still so iconic as an author today, is even the fact that that first paragraph, he kind of describes any time really. It was the best of times, but it was also the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, but it was also the age of foolishness. I think we can look at any time throughout history and always see that duality in our society. Definitely today I can see that. When you look out in society and you see what's going on, there's always that duality in, things are so great, but then also things are not so great. So I think it really is an iconic line for that reason as well. So the next one is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Once again, I think you kind of know where this one's gonna go. I think a lot of people know the first line of this book. And once again, if you are not someone who reads very often, you probably still have heard this first line. So I don't even need to look at this. The first line of Moby Dick is, "Call me Ishmael." So this one I definitely put into iconic for the reasons that I just stated before. It definitely, everybody knows it. I can't really say why. I think if you were to read Moby Dick when it was first published and read that first line, you would probably not think it was iconic, but for some reason it became iconic, and just as the book has. So I definitely put this into iconic. I don't think there's anything else to say about that one, really. Okay, so the next one is another one that is probably one of the most well-known opening lines. in the history of literature. So the next book is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So the first line goes like this, and I'm going to read it even though I somewhat know it, just because I don't want to get it wrong. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Now, once again, I think a lot of people know that line. And one of the things that's so great about that line is it's really like a thesis statement. Right in that opening line, Jane Austen is telling you exactly what the book is going to be about. Right there, that line encapsulates the entire book. Okay? That a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Okay? And that's what the book is about. And so for this opening line, I put this into classic. I don't think it goes so far as being iconic, I don't think, but it's definitely classic. So the next book I chose is another one that I really love, and it is a Canadian classic, and that is Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. So I think this book really is a classic. The whole series really is classic literature, and it really tells a lot about that time and place in Canadian history. So I think it's a really great series of books. But let's see what the opening line to that book is. Miss Rachel Lynde lived just where the Avonlea main road dipped down into a little hollow, fringed with alders and ladies' eardrops, and traversed by a brook that had its source away back in the woods of the old Cuthbert Place. So, okay, definitely I would put this into as classic as a book as it is, or even iconic. I would definitely put this into intriguing. It gives you a lot of information there. I find it interesting how she starts the first line with the character of Rachel Lynde and not Anne or any of the other characters that are a little bit more front and center in the story. But it gives you a lot of information there. So she talks about Rachel Lynde. You get the description of the town, Avonlea, which is a beautiful name. And, it talks a little bit about, how the path looks, the main road. And so I definitely, as much as, you would think a book that this classic or iconic would have a little bit more of a classic or iconic first opening line, this one I definitely think is intriguing. Okay, so the next book I chose is a little bit different from the rest of them. Well, not really different. It's still a classic book, but it's more of in the horror genre. I'm gonna read the first line and give you a few seconds to see if you know what it's from. So it starts like this. 3rd May, Bistritz left Munich at 8:35 p.m. On 1st May, arriving at Vienna early next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46 p.m., but train was an hour late. Okay, so if you guessed Dracula by Bram Stoker, you would be correct. So that is how the classic novel Dracula begins. I actually really like it. You can, it gives you some details there of, obviously this is someone traveling. Because the book is told as journal entries, you know the date, you know the time, kind of a little bit about what's going on. This is someone who's traveling. I put this into intriguing. It makes you, especially I think books that are written in this sort of journal entry style, it makes you want to find out more about what's going on. So I definitely, so yeah, I think this one is intriguing. So the next book I chose is another Dickens classic, A Christmas Carol. So this book, I really love this book. If you're really, I think that if you're really talking about books that transcend time, I think A Christmas Carol definitely is one of those books. You know, it's been done in so many different forms, different movies, it's been done on TV shows, just the general storyline. I think a lot of people really relate to it, and it really still has something to say in our society. But what was the opening line? So the opening line in A Christmas Carol is, "Marley was dead to begin with." So not really an exciting opening line. I think this goes into the intriguing category. I almost wanted to put it in classic, but I think it goes into intriguing. You know, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot, but you do want to find out who Marley is. You want to find out how he died. You know, if you know the, if you've never read the book before and you've never heard anything about it, and you read the description of what the book is about, then you know that there's going to be some ghosts in it that appear somewhere in the book. So yeah, I think this one is intriguing. So Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So I do love the Bronte sisters. I'm a Bronte fan. Okay, so how does Wuthering Heights begin? "I have just returned from a visit to my landlord, the solitary neighbor that I shall be troubled with." So this line really kind of pitches you right into the middle of the story. You don't really know who's talking, but it is kind of a, not really what you would think of such a classic novel like Wuthering Heights. But this one I put into intriguing. I don't think it goes as far as meh, but you know, it kind of throws you right into the middle of the story. You want to keep reading to find out what's going on. And that brings us to the last book. So I chose Lord of the Rings. I have not read Lord of the Rings. I do love the movies. In one of my previous videos at the very beginning of the year, I kind of made a pledge to try and get through the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That has not happened. It has not even begun. But maybe one of these years I will sit down and just kind of force myself to get through it. I have to be honest, I'm not that interested in Tolkien's writing style. It's just not really for me. That being said, I love the story, and I think that there's so much merit in the story itself that one day I really, really want to get through the trilogy. However, how does the first book begin? The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 11th birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbiton. Okay, so definitely I put this into intriguing. It's not iconic as in like everyone knows it. How many of you out there didn't know how Fellowship of the Ring begun, even if you haven't read it? But this is definitely intriguing. Gives you a lot of information. Kind of like how A Tale of Two Cities is quite a large opening line. This one is similar to that. It's quite a paragraph. Not as much of a paragraph as A Tale of Two Cities, but it gives you a lot of information. You know that there's a character named Bilbo Baggins. You can see right away that their time frame for measuring time is very different than ours, and also that people live very much longer than we do. You know that because they mention, you know, his 11th birthday, which we would say 111. And You know that there's going to be a party, and you know that they live in a town called Hobbiton. So definitely this is an intriguing first line. I just wish the entire book was written this intriguingly, but it's definitely a pretty great and intriguing opening first line. So there we have it. I rated 10 opening lines, 10 opening first lines in classic literature. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm completely off base? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments what first lines of books that you love. I would really love to hear your opinions on those ones. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more videos that are similar. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you soon in another video.